Hi, for those watching on YouTube, I wanted to let you know that the video recording of the interview with Paul and myself was a little wonky. It didn't really sound real well. So, what I'm going to do is record a video intro and outro, but then the rest of the conversation that I have with Paul will have just the Cool Grandpa logo on it. I apologize if this messes things up for you while you're watching on the YouTube channel, but I'm still working to get the software and the sound and everything just right. And so I hope you enjoy the content, and I hope that this is a fun and exciting experience for you. So let's get on with the conversation. Welcome into the Cool Grandpa podcast. I'm excited to have you join me this week in a great conversation that I'm going to have with somebody that has a fantastic product that I think you and maybe those around you would love to know more about. So we'll get to that in a second. But first, I wanted to remind you that my children's book, My Grandpa's Grandpa, is on sale on my website. The website is cool-grandpa.us. And this is a fantastic book. It's won a couple of awards, and I'm really happy for it. So if you purchase the book, you would like me to sign it, just shoot me an email. Let me know. I'm happy to sign it before it goes out, but you can check it out there. And also, you can still find it on Amazon. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about is Grandparents Week is coming up. And I know Grandparents Week is coming up in September, but signups are already happening at grandparentsacademy.com. I've got a link in the show notes that will take you right there. You can sign up. The celebration week is free. And what this is going to be is a bunch of experts around the grandparenting space are getting together to contribute their knowledge to help grandparents all over the world maximize their influence with their families and their grandchildren. So you want to check that out. Again, I've got a link for Grandparents Academy down in the show notes. You can check that out and get registered today. Now, what I want to do is to introduce Paul Hammond. And Paul Hammond has a great story that we're going to jump into about how he came up with this company, I Am Fine, and this amazing product that has already had close to 4 million check-in calls with adults around the world. So this is going to be something that you're going to want to listen to. It's a bit more informative because I want to get into the backstory about how the company came together. I want to learn and share more about the features, the functionality, how easy it is to use. And then I want you to be able to take a look at iamfine.com and see if maybe trying out a 14-day free trial of this product is going to be right for you. So stay tuned because this is a fun conversation that I have with Paul Hammond. And without further ado, let's get on with it. Hi, Paul. Welcome to the Cool Grandpa podcast. I'm excited to have you on. This is going to be a fun conversation for us.
Greg, it's an absolute pleasure to be with you, and I'm looking forward to sharing our journey with your audience.
What's great about this and where we're going to get to is this idea of being able to help people age in place. I mean, nobody really wants to move out of their house. They don't want to give up some of that independence, but sometimes there's practical health concerns, and then there's practical technology and safety concerns that go with it. But I think I Am Fine gives us a great opportunity to have people stay in their homes, stay where they're comfortable longer.
Absolutely correct. The primary goal of the solution is to provide exactly that capability, is to give people the opportunity to stay in their homes where they're comfortable for as long as possible. And it's really focused for folks who live alone at home. You know, once you're in a situation where you're at home alone, it becomes a little harder to be able to, sometimes look after yourself. And so the concept of having somebody check in on you every day is exactly how we started. And it gives not only a peace of mind for the person who is living alone that if something were to happen to them, somebody will be made aware of it, but it also gives a lot of peace of mind to the family and the friends of the person who lives alone. This all started about 12 or 13 years ago from a completely personal experience. My mom, who's now 98 years old, lives alone at home in Florida, and I live in California, and my brother, who we co-founded the company with me, lives in England. Now, we're pretty good sons. We call her, probably once a week or so, but there's always that situation where we don't actually know if she's okay every single day. And so while we were visiting her one year, Mom talked about a situation that she had where one of her friends who lives alone at home didn't show up for a golf game. Yes, that's true. Mom, at the age of 92, was still playing golf. And they were very worried. They were concerned. So they went around to the house, and they ended up finding out that everything was okay. She'd gone off shopping and forgotten about her tea time. But it started the conversation about how important it was for each of her friends to know about the well-being of the other friends. They all, elderly ladies living alone at home. And so my brother and I have both been in the high-tech world for a long time, and my mom turned around and she says, "So Paul, you're in the telephone world. Can't we figure this out?" And my brother said, "Yeah, that shouldn't be that hard. You can do it with, caller ID." And before we know it, and you don't say no to my mother. So she's saying, "Great. I love that idea. So I could call in, I could use my caller ID, and everybody would know we're okay. Good. When can I have it? How about 2 weeks?" And so it's absolutely true. And so my brother and I looked at each other and we said, okay, we pulled up our airlines. We extended our stay for about 2 weeks, and we turned her living room into a war room. And we designed the product, we designed the whole thing, and we built this solution predominantly just for my mom. My mom loved it. She started telling her friends about it. And so quickly, this turned into a situation where we now needed to productize it because we had so many people asking for it. And once again, when mom's friends ask for it, you don't say no to them. And so we turned it into a company, and that was about 12 years ago. Now, 12 years later, the service has grown, and we've actually delivered over 3 million wellness calls since starting the business back then.
Oh, wow. And your mom I've been in IT for a while. Your mom sounds like a typical, let's say, business ops manager. Like, hey, I want this in 2 weeks. This should be no problem, right? Go hit the easy button, IT, make this thing happen. And
it's really funny that you say that, because we went down to, we had to buy all the whiteboards and everything, when we were doing it. And at Staples, they have an easy button. And I actually have a photo of my brother and I there with the easy button, hammering it every time. And my mom kept coming along and saying, "This is easy. Come on, this is easy."
Yeah, my IT group had that easy button too, because every time we had a meeting with operations or the business, and they were like, "Hey, this should take your team like 30 days, and it should only cost me like $1,000." And we're all scratching our heads. We're like, we're not even getting off the ground for $1,000, getting out of requirements. So the fact you guys pulled this, at least the first iteration, off within like a month is incredible.
Yeah, we put an awful lot of effort into it since then. We both come from a high-tech world, predominantly in enterprise software world. So building a robust, scalable software application was well within our scope. We had just never thought about this as a possible application. And so off we went. And here we are 12 years later with a really thriving business. And it's an interesting business because it's a business, I've been in the high-tech world for over 30 years. I got plenty of gray hairs to prove it. And over that period of time, I've managed some fairly large sales deals, but nothing feels better than answering the phone for somebody who's purchased the I Am Fine product, which is really, it's not expensive. It's $14.99 a month, and saying, "Thank you for providing this service. I can't tell you how important it is for me every day to know that my mom is okay or that my dad is okay." And you just, that that sense of providing something that is so meaningful in the high-tech world is a very rare experience, and it's one that I treasure. So frankly, of all the things I've done, I'm the most excited about this because it's really delivering something that's tangible and something that's of great personal importance to people who are living alone at home.
Oh, sure. And before we get too far into it, I'd love to go back a little bit and talk about, what does it do exactly, and how's it different from some of the other medical alert services that might be out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. We tried to keep it as simple as possible. So the I Am Fine service is essentially a tool that will provides a means for you to check in every day. Unlike a medical pendant, which you would have to wear around your neck and you would press in the event of an emergency, with the I Am Fine service, you set a time, in the morning. Typically, most people are saying 8, 9 o'clock, and you check in by that time. If you miss your check-in, and it's easy to check in, you don't need an app on your phone. All you do is you text the word OK, or you just dial the dial-in number that we provide. When you do that, our system recognizes your caller ID and it checks you in. And you're great. And your family and friends have the option to be notified that you've checked in. They can also suppress that and choose to only be notified if you missed your check-in. Now, how is it that you might miss your check-in? Well, you missed the time that you set. At that time, if you haven't called, our system will call you. And you pick up the phone and you answer it, you press the 1 key, and it's all personalized. It would say, "Hello, Greg, this is the I Am Fine service. Please press 1 to check in for the day." And then you press 1 and it checks you in. Now, if you miss that call, perhaps you're in the garden, perhaps you're out shopping, perhaps for whatever reason, we'll call again 10 minutes later. And we'll do that for about 5 times in the following hour. So if your check-in was at 10 o'clock, by 11 o'clock, you will have seen 4 or 5 phone calls come through to your phone. And if you've missed all of them, that's when we go into an alert mode. And we'll go through the list that you've given us of people that you want us to inform. And we'll send them a text, an email, or a phone call. It's their choice how they want us to notify them. And we'll let them know that, hey, Greg's check-in time is at 10 o'clock. It's now 11 o'clock. We have not been able to reach Greg. And we're essentially alerting that list, what we call the care circle, that they should come and check up on you. They should do a wellness check.
Oh, that's awesome. And to your point, you might be out in the garden doing something, but then it prompts the neighbor or somebody down the street just to, hey, walk over, knock on the door, check around back, see what's going on. And,
right.
It's easy. Then it's occasional, hey, everything's fine. Somebody left their phone in on the kitchen while they went out and were working on the tomatoes.
Absolutely correct. Roll it back to the use case, my use case. I'm in California. My brother's in England. My mom's in Florida. And in her care circle, she has both my brother and myself, but she has also got 2 of her neighbors. And there have been times where mom has not checked in. She's left the phone on the kitchen table and she's out puttering around in the garden. Gets to an alert, and her neighbor is alerted, and the neighbor can go around and check on my mom. And this has happened. My mom's in the garden, and now they want to say that mom is okay. So mom can either, at this point, text the word okay, or the neighbor who's in the care circle can respond to the alert and check in on behalf of my mom. And when they do that, it alerts everybody in the care circle. So now my brother and myself, although we haven't actually been able to reach my mom, we get a message saying that our neighbor had checked on mom, and in this time it was John, and John said, I found Isabel. She was gardening and left the phone in the kitchen. She's fine. And everybody in the care circle gets that message. So it's a communications hub. It's a way, if you like, of making sure that everybody who cares about that person who lives alone at home is updated about their well-being. So you don't just get an alert and nothing more. You actually get the alert, and then anybody who checks up on that person can clear the alert with a little message.
That's great, because you hear stories, friend to friend, that sort of thing, where somebody couldn't get a hold of somebody's parent, their uncle, their aunt, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, bags are in the car and they're off driving to Chicago, 8 hours away. So, I mean, that's perfect. And the great thing too is that it lets that circle of people know what's going on. So it's a great little group text or group notification, so everybody can take a breath.
Precisely. We've kept it as simple as possible. We don't have. We're dealing with folks who, some of them are quite tech savvy, but other ones aren't. And so we wanted to make sure that the only thing you need to use the service is a phone. Now, it could be an iPhone, an Android phone. It could be a phone that's attached to the wall by those cords, if you remember those days when you had tethered phones. It can be a landline. It can be a voice over IP line. It's any phone that has a caller ID.
Awesome.
Because we use the caller ID as to recognize the person.
Paul, I wanted to ask you too, what are some of the benefits for people staying in their homes and staying longer? We talked a little bit about it as far as the comfort, as far as that, but what are some of the other advantages when you can use technology like what you're providing for people to stay in their house?
That's a great question. And I think it varies from person to person. In the case of my mom, this is her home. She's lived here. She lived there with her husband, who's passed away. It's a comfort. It's an issue of comfort. She doesn't want to move. She doesn't want to feel that she's got to the point where she can no longer look after herself. I mean, the traditional journey would be you'd move into an independent living and then perhaps into an assisted living and then to a memory care. But putting that off as long as possible, at least for my mom, it's been a real goal that she's pursued. And the ability of having a service like I Am Fine or having a service like a pendant really gives that person who's living alone a sense of comfort that they're not alone, that there will be somebody to check up on them if they miss their phone call. And mom says she sleeps so much better at night knowing that if she misses her check-in in the morning, her neighbor's going to be knocking on the door an hour later.
I can just imagine that piece it gives. And I think too, on the website, when I was checking that out, you had some links to services around pets, but I know a lot of seniors, they've got the cats, they've got the dogs, and I know even above their own safety and well-being, a lot of that thought is on those animals.
Any pet owner can relate to the following comment. We love our pets often more than we love ourselves. And we're more concerned about what would happen to the pet if something happened to us. And this was interesting because when we built I Am Fine, we built it essentially for seniors living alone at home. We were surprised at how quickly a new segment of users came into started using our service. And that is people of any age, typically who live alone at home, but who have a pet. And this might be somebody who is mobile and at work and is concerned, hey, I'm driving to work every day. I'm actually pretty worried about what's going to happen to my pet if I get into a car accident and nobody knows about it. And so we've surprisingly found about 30% of our user base are people who live alone at home, but have bought it because they're more concerned that they want somebody to come and take care of their pet if something happens to them.
And I can just imagine, too, that scenario of somebody that's living in a distant city, even if it's just a couple of hours away, is that if something happens to them and they need to be hospitalized or whatever,
Yep.
Is there somebody in that care group that's going to run over and, put down a half a can of cat food, while the person's in the hospital or whatnot.
Yeah, you can sometimes, if you're living alone at home and you get taken to a hospital, it might be that nobody knows about it, and yet your animal, your pet is at home. And so again, this is a great way to alert the folks that you care, that care about you, that your pet is alone, and to go take care of it. The other surprising thing that we found was that we originally thought, Greg, that the folks who would be interested in this are the people like myself and my brother, the children of the people living alone at home. Surprisingly, after looking at about 12 years worth of data, that thesis was proved incorrect. It's actually the people who are living alone at home who are the signing up for the service. About 83% of our signups come directly from the folks who are living alone at home. So the value to those living alone at home is far greater, it would seem, than the value for people like us wanting to know that our parents are okay.
Oh, wow. And it's surprising, but then it's also very encouraging that these folks are taking responsibility and are taking action towards how their life is at the moment. And they're not being so much reactive as being active. Like, hey, I want to stay here. I need people to check on me. I need to answer that phone call every morning. And here's a service that I'm going to sign myself up for. And then I'm going to tell my kids they're now part of my care circle, whether they asked for it or not.
Your parents probably are used to telling the kids, here's what's going to happen, and less welcoming of the kids telling the parents how to live their life. And that's another aspect. When we found that folks who are looking for this, and it was, the children of the parents living alone, they often came back to us and said, I love the service. I think it's a great idea. And if my mom or dad had found it on their own, they'd be all in. But I'm trying to tell my mom that she has to answer a phone call. It's a harder sell for the child to tell the parent what to do. So that's just anecdotal, but it was sort of an interesting aspect. And it really helped us to recognize that the greatest value here is that the person who lives alone at home needs to want to do this themselves. You can't force them to do it. And once they recognize the value and want to do it, then it becomes a habit. And we have folks who are quite proud of the fact that they've answered the call on time every single day of a year. And they almost gamify it. And so we've had a customer who has been with us for over 6 years and never missed a single check-in. And they're super proud of that.
Yeah, because you get that kind of strict mentality, right? It's like, hey, I've made it, so many days. Tomorrow I'm going to make it another day. And a question I've got for you, I think I picked this up on your website, was people running or working for independent living communities are using the product as well. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely correct. We started off providing the service directly to consumers, and we still do. But around 3 or 4 years ago, we expanded the functionality of this so that independent living facilities who are responsible for many, many residents can use the service as a means of understanding the well-being of all of their residents. So we have multiple, we call it our B2B, so it's a business-to-business sale. As an example, we have an organization who's got 300 independent living apartments in their facility. And an independent living facility is a place where you can go, but you're not going to be receiving daily services or a daily checkup from the facility. That typically happens when you move into more of an assisted living. So on the independent living side, we have a number of places that have said, part of what we want to do, part of our services, we want to make sure our residents are okay, but we don't necessarily want to have to go knock on their door or be intrusive about it. And so our service, it's called Resident Check-in, provides exactly that. And so in this particular example, they've got 300 units, and they instruct their users to call in by 10 o'clock each morning. And they are able to monitor in real time the check-in status for each one of their residents. And so by 10 o'clock, they are able to look at that screen, and maybe there's 3 or 4 residents who haven't checked in. And then the security team can go do a physical check to make sure they're okay. It provides, once again, peace of mind. Peace of mind to the independent person living in the independent community, that if something were to happen to them, that they know that the security team will be there, will be alerted that they haven't checked in, and will be able to come and check up on them, whilst still giving them the independence of living alone and without having the intrusive nature of sensors in the room or other ways of checking on their well-being.
Oh, sure. And I can imagine too, from like an operations and from just the management perspective, is that you're able to focus your time in where it needs to be versus running down and knocking on every single door within the facility and, just, hey, just checking in, make sure you're fine, and then going to the next one.
Well, do the math to check, to go knock on 300 doors. That's going to take you all day.
Yep.
You use the I Am Fine service, and at 10 o'clock, our system will, everybody's dialing in. Our system can handle many thousands of incoming calls at the same time. So we can answer all 300 of those calls, personalize the response. Thank you, Greg, for checking in. You may now hang up. And the security department, they just see the screen, and they can just see in real time everybody, their status, turning from an orange through to a green to show that they've checked in on time. There are a number of different solutions that independent living facilities use. Many of them don't have anything, but the ones who do have a check-in are either going to have a phone service like ours, or they'll do a manual flag sort of on the outside of the door, which isn't very efficient, or they'll go into the concept of having sensors or other devices. And there's just a lot of pushback from people to have a sensor in their apartment. I don't think I would like that.
No, and we're certainly of an age, and then the folks we're talking about are even older than us, of, this idea of the intrusion, right? I mean, the idea, and it was on the TV shows we were all watching, Hawaii Five-0, right? You hear the click on the phone, and oh my gosh, the KGB or the FBI is, on the phone call. And so we've had this kind of avoidance to having sensors and some technologies and things there versus having something that just kind of calls in, reaches out, and you answer, and then you're done.
Precisely. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you too about some of the feedback that you've had from this. We've talked a little bit about the examples that you've had with your mom, but what are some of the other examples that you have of people staying in their homes longer, using this technology to extend their time, and what their feedback has been?
The feedback's been phenomenal. I measure that basically. We look at once people sign up with us, how long they stay with us, and over 90% of our customers stay with us until a life event happens. Either, and the life event is typically their living situation changes. They'll move in with family, they'll move into an assisted living facility, or, sadly, they may no longer be with us. And the folks that stay with us, we go around and do a survey every now and then, and the phrase that we hear the most often, besides "thank you for providing the service," is "it gives me such a sense of, it's such a peace of mind, such a sense of well-being, that I know that I'm not really alone, even though I live alone." We're very careful in the sense that this is not an emergency device. It's not an emergency alert device. If you're looking for that, then the pendants are a wonderful solution. We work super well with the pendants, and we had a situation where one of our customers called us up and he thanked us for our service, and he said it saved his life. He had a pendant. He was diabetic and decided to change his diet. The diet that he moved to didn't agree with him, and he actually fell into a coma. Well, falling into a coma means he couldn't press his alert button, but he missed his call the next morning. And because he had the I Am Fine service and he missed his call, we alerted the neighbors. Neighbors went around, did a wellness check on him, and found him and rushed him to hospital. And he survived. And he came back and he said, I have my pendant, but I feel like that's just the belt. I've got the I Am Fine service, and that's the braces. So I know that I'll never be without one form or another of knowing that I'm okay. And he says it saved his life. And so we get a call like that, and it just changes our day. To know that we've been able to help people in such a meaningful way is from the genesis of how we started. That's really the pinnacle of success for us, is helping people like that.
Oh, that's awesome. And again, that just reinforces the independence, the being able to use this technology and use the service, manage themselves, manage their life. But then it's that safety net, right? And how you talked about that. What are some of the additional features or benefits with I Am Fine that maybe we haven't talked about? We've talked about the outgoing call and being able to have the check-in every 10 minutes if you miss the call. But are there some other benefits, some other features with I Am Fine that maybe we haven't covered?
Yeah, there are. Let me run through those for you. Firstly is, what happens if you want to go on vacation? Can you pause the service? And the answer is absolutely. And you don't need to call us to do it. You can log in through the web portal that we provide, and you can set yourself onto a vacation mode. So you're going to stop on this day, and I'm going to restart on that day. Second thing is, we allow you to have two phones registered. So if you miss your call and you miss your check-in and we have to call you, you can actually have us call both your landline and your cell phone at the same time. So if, for instance, you've left the house and you typically use the house phone to check in, and you're in your car and you're out and about, our service, in our effort to try and reach you, will call both your home and your landline, cell phone at the same time. So you can therefore check in from the cell phone. A lot of people love the idea, and they say, I would like to have more than one check-in call a day. And that was another feature that we added in response to that customer requests. And so you can have a call scheduled for the morning and another one in for the afternoon. And it works exactly the same way. You check in by that time. If you don't, we'll call you. And it's just you have those two check-ins per day. And then the other feature that we added, and all these features have come as a result of us getting customer feedback and what customers are looking for, is a lot of customers like to use it as a reminder tool. So we allow you to set a customized message. As an example, it might be when you either check in or when we call you because you missed your call, it would say, hello, Greg, this is the I Am Fine service. And you press 1 and it would say, thank you for checking in. It's Monday. Don't forget to take the garbage cans out this evening, Greg. And then you hang up. So you can use it as a reminder. And a lot of people use it as a reminder for repetitive tasks. Some use it as a reminder for medication. Others use it as a reminder for exactly what I just shared with you on Tuesdays. Make sure to remind me to take out, the trash cans. And so that customized message capability is another feature. And all these features, they're all included. There's no extra price. There's no extra charge for it. And when it comes to pricing, we've kept the same price since the day we started. It's $14.99 a month. If you prepay for a year, you get a 30% discount, and it's $120 for the year. And that's effectively $10 a month. And our philosophy is we're not here to make a huge profit. We're here to provide a huge value and deliver this service. And so we're going to try and keep that price for as long as we possibly can.
That's awesome, especially nowadays when everything is going up by 20% a month, it seems like. Paul, is there anything else about I Am Fine that I haven't asked you, that we haven't talked about, that we should be bringing up?
As a company, we're super excited to be where we are right now. And we've only really just scratched the surface of sharing the message with folks. We've seen our service become more and more popular. In fact, over the last year, we've grown by about 30%. We've reached 3 million. We'll pretty quickly hit 4 million check-in calls. So we're very excited about that. In terms of where we're going, we're trying to keep it simple. We are focusing on delivering this core product, and we're focusing on delivering it as well as we can. We love our customers. We love talking with our customers, and it's a small but very well run business that has got the love and care and attention of the people who started it.
That's awesome. And this is such a great service, because I know in talking with people that have given me some great information about nursing homes and going into those care facilities, those things can run you like $6,000, $10,000 on up a month. And if you can use this to give you some security at home, can help delay that a little bit. That just helps with, I mean, the bottom dollar, your savings, what your kids might have to contribute and all that. And to your point earlier, it gives you that you're in control. You're in your apartment, you're in your house, you're doing your things. And so this is just an awesome product, and I'm excited for all the folks that you're helping out.
And we help people out in multiple countries. We actually provide the service not only in the U.S., but in Canada and the U.K. as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Any expansion plans on the roadmap for any additional countries?
We are. We're considering mostly the English-speaking countries. So we're actually considering Australia, and also we're going to consider expanding into Mexico as well, because there's a lot of folks here in the States who have family in Mexico and they would like to use it. Now, that's for the loved ones. The Care Circle members, you can be anywhere in the world. We'll call you anywhere in the world on your phone, send you an SMS alert anywhere on the phone. But providing the service to the loved ones is in those 3 countries at the moment.
Okay. That's awesome. And Paul, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you to learn more about I Am Fine?
Well, the best way is to visit our website, which is iamfine.com. And from there, you can learn about the product. And the other aspect we do is we provide the ability for you to test the product without putting a credit card into the system. 100% no credit card. It's 100% free. Try it out for 2 weeks. You'll get the full service of the product. You can use every feature. And at the end of 2 weeks, you'll get a call from one of our support people asking you how it's gone. And would you like to continue using the service, or would you like us to turn the free trial off? If you decide to continue to use the service, then and only then would you give us a credit card. The first 2 weeks, we don't require any credit card. We don't require any form of payment. And you can just test it to your heart's content. And we find that about over 80% of the folks who go in and try the trial turn into customers. So we're very, very confident that we're delivering a good service there.
Well, and that's incredible. You don't take a credit card for that free trial. I don't know that I've come across that. And it's so refreshing to get that kind of a trial and that kind of a service, because I tell you, when I'm looking at doing something like that, when they ask for the credit card and everything else, I'm kind of hesitant, because it's like, I might forget about it, or maybe I'm not going to be happy, whatever it is. So that's awesome. Paul, anything else that maybe I forgot to ask you? I know we've had you on for a little while, but want to make sure we cover our bases here.
I think we've done a great job, Greg, of going over the features of the product and the value it is. This is a passion of ours. We continue to grow it. We're continuing to add capabilities to it. And we've been around for 10 years, and we're looking forward to being around for 10 more easily.
Thank you so much. Again, this is great, not just for the grandpas that want to age in home, but also for those children that, we've got elderly parents and we want a great tool that's easy to use, that they'll adopt. And so this is just a great product and service that you have for us. So thank you so much, Paul, for coming on the Cool Grandpa podcast. I do appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. And thank you, Greg. And once again, your audience, hopefully we can provide a service to them, and it's free for them to try.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll be sure to put a link to your website into the show notes too. So if anybody's out walking a dog, taking a drive, whatever they're doing, they can find it at the show notes and then be able to get connected with you really easy.
Great.
It was fun having Paul on to talk about how he and his brother came up with I Am Fine as a way to help their mother and her friends so that they can make sure that everybody's well, everybody's doing okay. And if they miss appointments, they know that nothing serious is going on. So that was a great backstory. I hope too that if this product would work for you in your circumstances, you look up IamFine.com and try out that 14-day free trial there. It would be a great way to see if it's going to be something that works for you. And I know that Paul and his company are passionate about making sure that people have the opportunity to stay in their homes, stay in their apartments for as long as possible. Please feel free to share this with anybody who might enjoy learning more about I Am Fine. That would be a great thing to do. And also, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or to this YouTube channel, depending on how you're viewing or listening to what's going on. I really appreciate your support. And until we meet again, remember to stay cool.